I studied prophecy for a long time, and then my fascination prophetically, I became more and more interested in what is the apostasy going to look like, because I, I, because of my experience in Christianity, I kept saying, is this the apostasy? Because the faith is not present. They will not contend for the faith, much less even preach the gospel. You know, not only do they not preach the gospel, but they are stigmatizing discernment, stigmatizing people who have the testimony of Christ as being narrow, bigoted, too fundamentalist, contentious, divisive, and unloving. And yet, they're proclaiming great things for the body of Christ, that we're going to have this great big revival and God's going to bless us, especially the charismatics and the NAR. And as I was watching this thing, it was becoming more and more evident that they're calling for unity, which is a Christless unity that is not around the gospel, but around silencing opposition, silencing those who have the testimony of Christ. Those who have the testimony of Christ and will contend for it because it's the very air they breathe will find no home in those institutions. And so as I was studying this, what is the roots of all this? And how fast is it moving and where's it going? I realized that really the sign for us to be looking for is this great apostasy, which will not be a withering away, like it's a falling away and they just disappear, they stop going to church. No, it is a waxing strong in a way that looks like a revival. They're going after with zeal, seducing spirits and doctrines of demons, fables, will not tolerate sound doctrine, and will persecute those who have the testimony of Christ. That is the great whore that's coming. She's not fully on the scene yet. I mean, she's been here for a long time, but she hasn't made her big day yet. I believe the false prophet, having the horns of the lamb and the mouth of a dragon, will have the visible appearance of Christianity, but it will be a works gospel / unity / Babylonian mystery import version of Christianity that finally makes peace with, supposedly peace with Islam and Judaism, but it'll be a Christian move. And these NAR prophets, New Apostolic Reformation, they've been training the young people, and I've witnessed it. They can speak really boldly and loudly, and the young people just buy it. Whether they're Calvinist or charismatic, or emergent, it doesn't seem to matter. They're all coming together with the same kind of cry, which is, we are so embarrassed of the testimony of Christ, and we don't want people contending for it. They're immature. We don't want anything to do with them. They are rejecting the testimony of Christ, and they're turning to persecute those who contend for it as being divisive and unloving. Okay? And it's accelerating right now. And I didn't know when I did that video the other day about the conscience that one of the pillars in the community, because I'm not subscribed anymore. When I say pillars, I mean there's several channels who are associated with the Grace community that have 20 to 30,000 subs or more. And everybody kind of looks at them as the face of the Grace community, which is really sad because they are compromised left and right. But one of them had made peace with someone who is known to oppose the gospel completely. And he hasn't changed his mind on that. He hasn't repented of that. This unity has nothing to do with the obedience in the scriptures. And it's going to be like a drug, and it's going to catch on fire. The three pillars are going to be talking about this stuff more and more. And I might as well address it because they're speaking to me. All I'm doing is contending for the faith. And you have to look at my wall and listen to my teachings to know what it is I teach and what it is I say and what kind of fruit it bears. And they're not doing that. They're just listening to rumors and secondhand things and accusations. And just be aware that if you're associated with this, you're not going to find a resting place in Christianity or in this unity that's coming. This beast thing, this false prophet religion that looks like Christianity, is going to be the source of the persecution of Christians during the tribulation. They're the ones who are going to persecute those who have the testimony of Christ. And it's beginning now. It's already happening. The offense that's happening right now is a rejection of the testimony of Christ. That's all it is. The offense is not a personal thing like, oh, I really don't like that person and I don't like that person, and so I'm going to argue with their doctrine. No, the offense is coming from people who are proclaiming things contrary to the testimony of Christ. And then those who contend for it are being labeled as divisive, even satanic, unclean, all that. So you have to figure out who has the testimony of Christ, and do you have the testimony of Christ? What is the testimony of Christ? What does it look like? What does it sound like? And that's the voice of our shepherd. It's really crazy what's going on. I'm just watching it unfold. I'm talking to a couple of people, and our jaws are dropped to the floor, going, wow, look what's happening. And this let's make friends with people who are enemies of the gospel is not a scriptural thing at all. Walking in love does not mean opening up the doors to the sheepfold and letting thieves and robbers in through another way other than Christ. And I don't know what the motive of doing that is, other than Jesus told us that there's hirelings, that turn a blind eye when the wolf is coming. They won't address it. They'll let the sheep be scattered. You let these people in, and you don't have a clear separation of the word to protect the sheep, they're going to get devoured. And then you're calling for everybody to stop arguing. So, again, every single thing that I talk about is something I've paid a price for. It's my breath, it's my air, it's my survival. I'm not letting you steal my crown. I don't care if you all hate me. And we kind of have to be prepared for that. Do we revile in return? No, but we speak the truth. And we keep teaching. We keep contending, knowing the time we're living in. Knowing what the apostles, prophets, and what Jesus said about this time, and not being surprised or stumbled by it. Okay? Do I believe these people aren't saved? No. I recognize people by the testimony of Christ, but you have to realize what the nature of this warfare is, and you have to realize what we are contending for, and you have to care for the sheep enough to feed them and protect from the things that differ. And people are losing sight of that because they're focused on something else, and they want to look like the good guy. And a lot of this, rebuking of those who contend for the gospel is just posturing. And it really does make them look great. It makes them look like they're just the most loving, nice, wonderful people. But the problem is they're teaching you that this is the pattern. What they're doing, they're actually teaching new believers that this is the pattern. They are forcing you to drink a lukewarm drink that's going to take away your ability to discern and stand fast in the liberty with which you've been set free. A lot of people are being brought into bondage. A lot of people are finding it very difficult to know where to stand in order to feel at rest with the Lord. And people who are contending for the rest of Christ are increasingly being marginalized and becoming a smaller and smaller group, which is as it should be, because it is a narrow gate and a narrow path. Christ alone. All right, it's raining now, so I gotta go inside. I'll talk to you later.